All right, guys, we are down in South Florida today, and we're going to be doing an interview with William Barnes in just a few minutes. But before we get started, I wanted to go around the room because we got a lot of his family here with us today. We're just going to go around the room. See over here, we got Aunt Anna Lois. How you doing, dear?
Fine.
You're looking pretty.
Thank you.
Good deal. And we've got his two daughters over here, which are actually my second cousins. We got Trish and Pam.
Yeah.
And then we've got the husband over here. Help me with the name. Bill. And then we've got my wife, Cindy. And then we got other husband over here. Donnie over here. So we got them all with us today, but the man of the hour is right over here to my left, and we're going to get him on the camera, and we're going to get an interview with the one and only Barney Barnes. And we call him Barney 5-0, and the reason we call him Barney 5-0 is if you guys ever remember watching that show, Andy Griffith, and he had the deputy, Barney, and they all called him 5-0 on there, so we just call Barney 5-0. Look right here. How you doing, Brother Barney?
Oh, doing fine there, partner. Doing good.
Well, good deal. Well, the thing we really want to talk about today is find out some of your memories of growing up around the Gritney community, Highway 2, and all up in there. But we really, starting it out, would like to know if you had if your birth certificate read something, what is the full name that birth certificate would say? What's your full name?
William Henry Barnes.
William Henry Barnes. All right. And you were born in what year? Let's see. Gardis was born in 1914. And you were after her, weren't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So she was a little bit older than you, but
yeah.
You are.
When's your birthday, Dad? When's your birthday, Daddy?
October the 25th.
Oh, like 10, 25, 27 when I was born.
1927 is when he was born. So today is March the 6th of 2025, which that makes you about 97 years old. Good gracious, and he's still kicking, y'all. I mean, he'd go fishing if we'd let him today. Get him out there. Well, now your parents' names were, what were your parents' names?
Sarah Barnes and Jess Barnes.
And that was J.M., right?
Yeah.
Jesse Monroe?
Yeah, Jesse Monroe.
J.M. Barnes and Sarah Barnes. But now, getting off subject a little bit onto the side, Sarah was actually, her maiden name was
Burge.
Sarah Burge.
Right.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was those Burges, and there's a bunch of Burges in Holmes County.
Right.
A lot of Burges in Holmes County. So you were born there in what did we say? 25? 27. See, I can't even remember nothing. Tomorrow's my birthday, by the way.
Oh,
So
happy birthday.
we may have us a fish fry while the
Fifth of Jack Daniels.
and a fifth of Jack Daniels. LD Jr. would have that.
Oh yeah, right. We'd have moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, is there any recollection you have of moonshine? I know Westville, Florida was the capital of moonshine. What did you ever run any moonshine or
Never did run any, but I drank it.
My daddy made it.
Yeah. Look here, Ann Lois over here now. Hold on, Ann Lois. Tell me. So, yeah, your daddy made it. What was your daddy's name?
Flournoy.
Flournoy. Yeah, and they were down, weren't they around Caryville area?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he made a little bit of moonshine. Did you ever help him or anything?
No, I didn't help him. I sure didn't. My mother tried to hide it from him.
But he was making it. Was he selling it to help subsidize the family's
I don't know what he was
income?
doing with it. Yeah, I can't tell you what he was.
Goodness
He
gracious.
probably was selling it.
There you go. There you go. So 50, when you were growing up in the Gritney area, now your mother Sarah, she passed away at a young age, didn't she?
Yeah, I think she was in her. I think she was in her 30s.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And
I was about 5 years old.
right,
Never didn't know what her mother was.
right. Your mother turned in to be Gardis, didn't it?
Yeah. Gardis raised us, taking care of us. Yeah.
And and we, you had quite a few brothers and sisters, and Papa Barnes, and had to kind of carry on and raise y'all. But you remember all them brothers and sisters that you had?
Yeah. Jesse and Donnie, and had Gardis, Arlevy, and Erie.
Ain't Erie, I remember her well.
Yeah. And Irene, and Arlevy.
Yeah. Was there another one, Estelle?
Estelle and Betty.
Estelle and Betty.
Yeah, Betty was the baby.
Yeah.
Donnie was the baby. I'm sorry.
And if I ain't bad wrong, I think you're the only living one of all of them, right?
Only one left.
Only one left. 97 years old here in 2025.
And I give the good Lord the praise, reason I'm still here.
The good Lord and onions.
Yeah, and mustard.
Mustard greens.
Yeah.
Mustard greens, onions, and the good Lord.
Yeah, that's what kept me. It's kept me here.
Now, when after your mother passed away, I know Gardis, she got married at kind of a young age to LD.
Yeah.
Did you get to spend a lot of time with them?
No, I didn't. Like I say, she's the one that take care of us after our mother passed away.
Right.
Yeah.
And what kind of memories do you have after LD and Gardis got married? You were probably in your teenager somewhere, a little older. Did you get to stay at the house with them much, or live with them any?
Yeah, I stayed around with them, and stayed with Erie a lot, and Bobby. Stayed with them quite a bit.
Bobby Wilcox.
Bobby
I think.
Wilcox, yeah.
Yeah.
Stayed with them quite a bit, and stayed a little with our Levy, and I just yonder, staying places,
You kind of was like me. I was all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. I'm telling you, yeah, I sure was.
Because Hewlin and Jack Daniels, they were doing their thing.
Yeah, right, there was.
And I remember I'd come over to you and Ann Lois's and eat with y'all, and go to Gardis's and eat Francis's.
Yeah.
I was all over the place. Me and you lived a lot alike.
Yeah, you better believe it, buddy. That's for sure. I remember old Scott Rojo running around with the rest of the cruises,
Yeah, get after them. Now, growing up there around LD and Gardis, do you have any fond memories that you'd like, anything specific you'd like to tell everybody about?
Yeah, I got the first one, okay?
Yeah.
First one would be, me and him was swapping work. We was farming, and he got laid off the shipyard, and he'd go down had to go down to town, Bonnefit, to get his unemployment. And I was over there in the field one day. Well, the day that he went to get his unemployment, I was over in the field digging sassafras bushes. So the record, I heard something, pow, pow. I said, oh boy. LD's drunk, and he was shooting buckshot, and that buckshot come through there, poop, hit the ground right there close to me. It scared the heck out of me, and I, instead of coming back going down the road, I went down through the swamp, the woods, to the house, you know. He shot his mailbox up, you know. And I wouldn't embarrass him to go back and go down the road, not him doing that, you
Oh
know.
Lord! And he wasn't drinking Jack Daniels.
He was drinking shine, boy, moonshine. The guard said, "Don't shoot over that way. That young'un or Williams over there digging sassafras bushes." He didn't pay no mind, you know. He just kept shooting over that way. He scared me to death, man. I left there. Never did dig no more sassafras bushes.
Yeah, he was a rounder, they said.
Yeah. Then I got another one. We lived up there. He come by one morning. He says, "Barney, I want you to go over and set a net at Powell Lake, you know." And his brother was there, Sonny, you know. So we got that little 12-foot John boat, went down there, and he was in front of the boat, sitting, dragging the net, you know. On the wreck of that net got hung, and he stood on the bow of that boat and pulled, jerked that net, you know, and that boat like went out of the water. So he said, "Well, we'll come back the next day and check it, you know." So he come by it in the morning, you know. Sonny was still there. He says, "You ready to go check the net, Barnes?" I said, "No, LD, I feel a little bit bad." I said, "You and Sonny go do it. I wasn't fit to get back on that boat with him again to turn it over."
Because you didn't know how to swim, right?
Yeah. Did you know how to swim?
No, sir, never did. And
So you never learned how to swim?
never did learn it. I'm surprised that he didn't turn the boat over or something and
Drowned you?
let me swim. I learned how to swim if I'd done that, you know, really.
No, you'd have sunk or swim, wouldn't you?
He never did know what a life jacket was. If a life jacket let in the boat, he just liable to throw it out. He said, "We don't need that thing, you know."
Yeah, man. Good gracious. Now, you know something about that, you not knowing how to swim, you know, your sister Gardis, she never had a driver's license.
No kidding.
She never had a driver's license. And, but she drove that old gray goose around.
Yeah, and Clyde get up, ride with her.
Old Herman.
Herman, yeah.
Herman, that old guinea. She had a guinea.
Yeah.
And that guinea would go with her everywhere, that little guinea. And his name was Herman. And if you mess with Gardis, that guinea would get you.
Yeah, you better believe it. I can see her and him going to the garden with an old bucket, you know, before they got the truck, you know, for the drive, you know, and the old guinea following her, you know. He'd go ahead of her and look for snakes, debug the peas, and all that stuff for her.
Yeah.
I can see her with that old bonnet on and apron, you know.
Had her old bonnet, yeah. Because she had that Barnes skin, as I call it.
Yeah.
And it's the same type skin that you have right here. And the sun and your skin didn't go too good.
That's for sure, you know.
Yeah.
So,
but she never did have a driver's license, and that was something that I just I knew it, but it was just always in the back of my head that I never brought it forward until we started doing these interviews that she made it around. And I remember Cheryl and Ricky and me would usually take her when she needed to go to town and do something like that. But she would drive that old gray goose. It had a old 3-speed on the column.
Yeah.
And to crank the thing, you remember how you had to crank it with the foot pedal?
Yeah, and it started and the gas was right there together, and you had to mash both of them to get the thing to crank, you know.
Yeah. Had a starter button right beside the accelerator.
Yeah.
And you had to get them all going together and get the starter going and patting it to get it to fire off. But she could drive that thing around. Well, what about any? Did you ever go hunting with LD and Junior Sconyers, and
Yeah.
Captain Ballot, and all that bunch?
Yeah, I went with LD one time, and he was about drunk. He went squirrel hunting, and he shot nearly a box of shells at one squirrel. The squirrel jumped from one tree to another, and he was just steady shooting, boy. Bow, 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 bow.
Did he ever get it?
He never did, you know.
Oh
And,
my God! Yeah, that's that hunting. I know y'all used to use the hound dogs to trail the deer.
Yeah, and there was one there that wouldn't hunt where one time, you know, the old dog was following him around, and he just turned around and shot him.
the dog wouldn't get on the scent.
Wouldn't go out and hunt, you know, he was just following LD, and LD just turned around and shot him.
I wouldn't doubt that.
And then I got another. He wanted me to go with him one time to check his baskets, you know, they set baskets, you know, to catch fish in. And the river was up, it was all over the woods, you know. He said, you just well pull your shoes off. He said, you got to do some wading. I said, oh boy, that scared me. I could step on a piece of glass or something. So the river got up. You had to have two pieces of wire, one on the front muzzle of the basket, one on the back, tied to a limb or stop. The river got up and he couldn't reach it wire, you know. So what he done, he just backed off out there and pulled his overalls off and hit the start of lightning. And he was out there in that water naked, trying to get that wire that was tied to his basket, you know. And it scared the heck out of me, boy, I'm telling you. He was buck naked, you know.
Was he in there at Powell Lake?
In there, yeah.
Chapman?
Powell Lake.
Powell Lake?
Yeah, basket set, they called it.
Yeah.
Then I was in there with him one time at Chapman, I guess it was,
Chapman.
yeah. And he was duck hunting, you know, and his ducks flew in there on the water, and he shot them, you know. And he just backed off out there and pulled his breeches off again and waded off out there and got them ducks, and it cold.
And it's winter time, ain't it?
Yeah, buck naked.
I know. Yeah, I can see that happening. I'm surprised he didn't have you wading out there to go get him.
You know, I could swim. Wonder hadn't threw me in there, you know. Really.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Well, thinking back in some of the, I mean, that was all the fun times and stuff. But did you ever go to school?
Yeah. Yeah. I had to walk down a dirt road it was a mile or 2 miles.
Was that up
To
there?
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem?
Yeah. We lived up there at Miller Cross Roads,
Right.
and had to walk. And
Do you remember about about how long you actually went to school? Was it
yeah,
third or so grade?
I think it was 5th grade.
5th grade?
Yeah, 5th grade.
You got you about a 5th grade education.
Yeah, that wasn't much, you know, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But I made it through this old world without one, you know, kept jobs, you know, and
Right.
the good Lord helped me, you know.
You had to work ethic.
Jobs I could have been on, I could have been a supervisor or a lead man, but I just didn't have the education.
Yeah. Well, how about Jesse Monroe? Was what can you tell everybody about J.M. Barnes?
My brother Jesse.
No, your daddy.
My dad. Oh,
Daddy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh,
After he got out of prison, Gardis was I think she was 5 years old.
yeah.
Because he got sent off for that. He, from what I can gather, he didn't kill the man.
No.
His brother killed him,
Yeah.
and he took the rap for it. Him and his younger brother Joe.
Yeah.
and they got sent off to Rayford in 1914. So when he came back, he got out of prison. It was 5 years later that he got out, and he came back. And I know that's what the story is from the kids. Is that's when Gardis first met her daddy. She was 5 years old because she was born not long after he got, or before. She wasn't born when he got sent off, and when he came back. So you were, you were somewhere around in there when he, not long after he came back, and they said he become a preacher.
Yeah, he did. Never did see him take a drink or nothing. He was a Christian. Never, all the time I was growing up.
Right.
He was a minister. Really.
So what kind of things do you really remember about him that stick out to you? That
Well, I remember that he was a good Christian, but we had to work hard on the farm, from sun up, sun down, and he was, like I say, he was a good Christian preacher, and a lot of people didn't like to hear him preach, because he preached he would really get sin,
right? He was Pentecostal, Assembly of God.
Yeah, Assembly of God. Yeah.
Now Tommy told me yesterday that one of them times he was preaching, and we'll see that with Tommy's interview. But one of them times he was preaching that Lyres came up there and was knocking on the door trying to get in, and Papa told him, he said, "You've been drinking. You need to get on out of here." And Papa J.M. popped him in the nose and sent him on down the road, and he got down the road, and then folks said, "What's going on? You doing all right?" He said, "No, I ain't doing good." And he got down there, and I forgot who the folks were, but they said, "Well, what's wrong?" And he said, "Well, I come by the church up there and thought I was going to get to go into church, and I think they was casting out demons."
Yeah.
That's what Lyres told him.
Yeah. And my brother Donnie, that's it. This is LD. LD's went up there one time. I think him and one of the Curry boys had got mad or something about, there was a lady there that they wouldn't let preach,
Yeah.
And he went by the church there one night, drunk, and had on them old long handled underwear, and he had his sleeves out, dragging behind his back, and Donnie was sitting at the window, and he seen LD out there with a gun. He got out and he crawled back. They were down praying. He crawled back down the other side of the church. Said, our dad says, "What are you doing here, boy?" He says, "LD's out there freaking shooting at the window." And I think our dad went out there and taken the gun away from him.
Good gracious.
Yeah. So everybody was getting out of the church, running down there in the woods.
Hey, Lordy. Well, where do you remember y'all lived at most of the time when you were growing up? Where was it? Was it up there around Miller's Crossroads?
Well, that's where I was born and raised. Started there. But Dad, he married Miss Ida Harris. So that's where I spent most of the time down there on the river.
Right.
And
Ida May, wasn't it? That's what they called her, Ida May?
No, that was on that road. What you call him? Daughter.
But Ida, didn't she have some sons?
Had two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had two, and had a rum head for the oldest, and he made moonshine.
Was that Pearl Glen?
No, that was Herschel.
Herschel.
Yeah.
That's right, Herschel.
Yeah. he was hauling a load of it out one day, and the old ox, you know, he'd sully, you know, and if a chicken come around, he'd kick, boy, I'm telling you. That old ox sully, lay down, you know, he was hitched up to the wagon. That old hearse was about drunk, so he built a fire up, like to burn a big place on the back of that old ox's behind, you know. But he come up from where he built that fire around him.
Let's say there was Herschel, was Ida's son, and then Glenn.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Glen Ray.
She only had two, you know.
That's right. That's right.
And
and now, how did Pearl Glenn Harris fit in the picture? You remember
That
PG? They called him. PG?
Yeah. That was her baby boy, you know. It was Pearl Glenn and Herschel, you know.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my dad, she wouldn't live with us up where she moved up there and stayed with us a while there. Miller Crossroads, you know, and she didn't like it. She moved back, you know, and my dad, he'd go down there and see her once in a while, you know. And he was down there one time, and they went to bed, and she come around and shook the bed and said, "Just get up, get out of bed, get on the bed." He said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Herschel's out there drunk, going to shoot in the window." He said, "Well, you wait till I get down here and get my gun. I'll get him out my window." He said, "I'm not getting on the bed." And he met him out there one day. He had a load of shine on the wagon, a ox, you know. And he met him out there one day, and he told him, he says, "Whenever I get scared of a Harris, and I want somebody to take me out and whip me," he said, "I'm telling you right now, I am not scared of you."
That's what he told Herschel.
Yeah, and they tried to run him out and down there, but it's a good thing he was a Christian, because there's been some dead Harrises around there.
Yeah.
You know.
Herschel, I can still remember Herschel when I was a young boy, and all I remember is he used to love to play cards.
That's what he done. He never did stay at the house any.
Yeah.
Whenever he lived over at Lake Apopka, that's all he done was gamble.
Golly.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that, because he'd be out all night, and when we'd be getting up to go to the watermelon field or something, here'd come Herschel headed in to his house.
Yeah, right.
Where he'd been out all night.
Yeah. He made shine, you know, and he couldn't sell it because he stayed drunk all the time. He had to get somebody else to sell the shine for him, you know.
Goodness gracious. Well, did you ever remember anything at all about your Uncle Joe at all?
All I remember, he come by the house up there one time, and he says, "Where's Jess Barnes at?" I says, "He's there in the house." And he said, "We got a warrant out for his arrest." I said, "My dad ain't done nothing to be arrested for." And it was just like looking at my dad, that they'd pass for twins.
How about that?
Yeah, they did, you know.
Yeah. Well, he was the youngest one, though, wasn't he, Joe?
Yeah.
Joe was the youngest of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because when him and Papa Barnes, your daddy, when they did their time over in Rayford, they had, story goes that they had that Joe had talked him into breaking out a year early on their sentence, and they came and swam the Chattahoochee River coming back towards Holmes County, and Papa Barnes told Joe, he said, I can't do this, it ain't right, I'm going back and turn myself in.
Right.
And Joe said, well, I'm gonna keep on going. And Joe kept heading west and went to Texas, but Papa Barnes went back and got another year put on his sentence.
Yeah.
They was originally sentenced to 4 years, and then that's how he got his 5th year.
And he got pardoned out.
But they both of them got pardoned
Mm-hmm.
by the state Florida Pardons and Paroles. They sure did, and I think the governor pardoned them too, or whatever.
Yeah.
Some times there.
And he done told me that Uncle Joe was there for my dad's funeral, you know, And I don't know if I saw him then or not, but there's some lady there or not. There, he wouldn't call her name, you know. I don't know if I know her or not, but she looked up, seen Uncle Joe, said she liked to faint. She thought my dad had come back alive.
Thought it was J.M. and it was J.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I forget the lady's name, said it scared her to death.
Well, what about our famous uncle Elias?
Oh,
How about that rascal?
that bugger, I tell you, I remember, I don't know whether you remember or not, he had an old walking stick, you know, and you kids would come around, you know, he'd try to catch you by the leg with that walking stick, you know.
Try to trip you.
And laugh, yeah, and laugh. And poor fellow, he stayed pickled on that moonshine, I'm telling you.
Yes. Now, did he make any or did he just drink it?
He just drank it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't make it, he just drank it, you know. Working them old log woods, you know, with an old crosscut saw, you know, cutting that timber, you know. And he'd have it in his old pockets, you know. Have about a pint or half a pint, you know.
He just sipping on it.
Just sip on it, boy. His face stay red all the time, you know.
Golly.
Well, no, another thing that's funny, and I want to get back to a deal there about LDH.
Okay.
Uncle Lars would be coming down that old dirt road up where he lived off out there in one of them old frame houses in the woods. And he'd be staggering one side of the road to another, you know. And if he ever was up there, Irene, Gardis, they'd say, Lord have mercy, yonder comes Uncle Lars, he's drunk. Young'uns, get in the house. And there wasn't no harm against the old man, you know. They go to gathering up the kids and get them in the house, you know. No harm in him, you know, really.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And then you said you were gonna tell me something else on LD.
Well, let me see.
Do you remember what that one was?
Well, let me see.
But
No, I don't remember that.
that's all right. That's all right. Now, this is something my wife and I, Cindy, were talking about as we were driving down here yesterday. Was, you know, we were talking about how several of y'all came down to the Apopka area and Orlando area to work. How did that all kind of go about? Of y'all actually leaving, you know, up there around Bonifay and Gritney area to actually come down this way? What caused all that? Why did that happen?
Well, let me back up. I worked for Vince Garner at the sawmill for about 4 or 5 years for 50 cents an hour, and wage and hour law come in and got a 25-cent raise.
75 cents now.
Yeah.
Whew, that's big money there.
Yeah. That'd make me about $20 a week, you know. And well, I had a friend that moved down here to Apopka, and he had a job with Finfrock, you know, construction work, you know, digging and cement and all that stuff. And he said, "I can get you a job if you want to move down here." So I get you a job out there with us. It was out there on the old Apopka Highway. Yeah, Finfrock, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he got me a job out there, and we decided we'd move down here, you know, and we got some guy there around Apopka to move us down here on a pickup truck.
And so you got down here and did a little construction, but somewhere along the way you didn't LD and Gardis come down here and work a little bit too?
That was, no, they was working, got a job down south there, you know. The guy's name was Go Show.
Yeah.
In
Orange Grove?
Orange Grove, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they done for a while. I think did they say that's where Christine was born at?
That's where so, Christine was born, and the Go Show's wife is who named her.
Yeah.
named Christine, because her name was, I think, Christine. And she told Gardis that if she'd name her Christine, she'd never want for anything, is what
Yeah.
Christine said.
Right.
So that's where Christine got her name from, the fellow that owned the orange grove.
Yeah. Go show. Yeah.
Yeah. But they came down here to work. Well, did they do that because there wasn't a lot of work around?
Yeah, there wasn't no work up there, you know. Nothing to do but logging and all that stuff.
Logging the
sawmills,
farm. Yeah.
you know.
So you got down here and did a little construction, but then you smartened up and figured out something else to do.
Yeah, I got had a job over at Longwood, and got Hewlin a job over where we were assembling machinery together, you know. Then I went from there to Boise Cascade. The plant manager there, me and him were pretty close. We fished, you know, and he said, I'll get you a job down at Boise Cascade. So I stayed there for 25 years. Got up every morning at 4 o'clock, had to be to work at 6. Drove 25 miles one way, you know.
And over at Boise Cascade, weren't you working? Didn't I remember you telling me you worked on conveyor belt?
Oh yeah. But this other job, Hewlin worked with me up there at Longwood. We assembled made elevators and all that, you know. I was maintenance, you know.
Gotcha.
25 years.
Good gracious.
Yeah, I got up at 4 o'clock. Be there at 6. Go to work at 6:30. Drove 25 miles again in one way, you know.
Good.
They was building I-4, and they were down here. We come down here in 53, and here whenever they built 441. Popka had one red light then,
Good.
and a constable.
Golly.
Granny, she worked at the packing house there for Plymouth, you know, drove a forklift.
Annie was driving a forklift?
Yeah.
Oh, howdy.
Yeah, drove a forklift.
Okay.
It was a forklift that I think it picked up about 6 boxes, you know, and set them on the.
Set them on a layer belt.
Yeah,
to go
and
up to be washed
they
and
went in the
graded out.
coloring room. They colored oranges back in them days. You think you was getting a ripe orange, and that thing would be half green whenever you cut into it. They was pretty, but they have
They're
a color.
pretty and orange.
They think you're getting a good ripe orange, you know. It'd be about half green.
Golly. Boy. Well, did you ever work with LD when he was doing watermelons or anything?
A little bit, very much.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much. Yeah. He was rough, boy. I'll tell you right now, he was rough. He was rough on animals. You know,
He was rough.
dogs. You know, and Gardis, she'd go out there and doctor them, you know, for fleas and what have you. And if the old fence was board fell off of it or something, she was there with a hammer and nail putting it back together. He never did do nothing of that. Yeah. I remember one time the old barn they had there, you know, you couldn't get in 10 feet of it for the fleas. They're like ants. That's how thick they were. Eating them old dogs up. If it hadn't been for her, the fleas would eat the dogs up. Wouldn't have no hunting dogs.
Yeah. Well, they speaking of fleas and stuff, I can remember at 6 and 7 years old that he'd pour dang used motor oil on them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To kill the fleas and
Right.
the mites and things.
Yeah.
What about the high life?
Yeah,
the high life.
She used to
You
tell
know.
me.
that high life. Oh golly.
Yeah. You remember that was High Life? You know, you put it on a dog green thing, and son, you couldn't catch him. My dad, he was preaching down there in Gritney there. They call it Tabernacle. And the floor was sawdust, and the seats was 2x10s, I guess we'll say, you know. And one of the old women up there had an old dog, you know, and every time they'd get down to pray, that old dog would go around sniffing, you know. So my dad said, I'll take care of that. He always had them little bottles full of High Life, you know. He carried one with him down there one night, and that old dog come smelling around there down praying, you know.
Yeah.
He put it on that dog. That dog went out through the tabernacle there, people jumping up on benches. That dog never did come back smelling around. You know?
Yeah.
And most of them old boys there in Gritney, they didn't go to church. They went there to gang up and talk, you know.
Right.
They'd come around to the door and they're talking, you know. You couldn't hear him preaching or what have you. And so he'd tell them, you either come in or get away from that door.
All right, guys, we back with you. The old battery on the GoPro got hot, so GoPro, if y'all are watching this right now, your product is getting too hot and the batteries are going bad on them. So if y'all want to send me something, you just send it to Scott Cruise Fishing and we'll take it from there. Ain't that right? You take it. If they want to send us some royalties, we'll take them too, won't we?
Yeah.
All right, so we back with Barney 5-0 here. Again, this is Gardis's brother and the only living Barnes from JM, Jesse Monroe, that's left living at 97 years old. And he's still kicking. So we were just talking a little bit about some fishing when you got down here to the Mount Dora and Sorrento area and all, and you said there was quite a few fish to be caught down here.
Yeah, I'd go over to Popka Canal, go over morning and fill the cooler full, go back in the afternoon fill it full. I go to bed that night, you could see your bobber going under the water.
You went to sleep with the bobber going under?
Yeah, caught so many fish that I just...
Dreaming about it.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So we got down. So you got down here, and you moved down here with work, and you finally retired at some point in time, and didn't you and Aunt Anna Lois move back up to Gritney area?
Yeah, we moved back up. Tom Thumb's house, bought his house, moved back up there. Old bald-headed Tommy.
Yeah.
Moved back up there, and I went to work for a school system, Holmes County, and she worked down at the dollar store a little bit, and I stayed in the woods most of the time building deer stands. She done a lot of good fishing up there. I had a little old 10-foot John boat that'd go in there at Powell Lake, just catch them brim, I'm telling you, going and coming. Woo! That was a lot of fun, you know.
Yeah, 'cause we'd have them floods, and those floods off that river, those fish would get pushed back into those lakes.
Right. I go in there and catch 40 or 50, you know, out of Powell Lake, you know, real nice fish, you know. And I enjoyed that. Enjoyed hunting. And I remember one time, me and Bob went under Powell Lake hunting, and he stopped about middle way to Powell Lake on his four-wheeler, and I went on down the lower end looking for ducks. Wasn't long before I heard somebody shoot, and I went back up there, and Bob had done killed one sitting there on his four-wheeler smoking.
Now you told me a little something about I used to call him Bob Robert, but Bob Paulin, your buddy up there, Bob, and you said him and Uncle Ricky Vaughn they got into trouble quite a bit, didn't they? With Francis.
Yeah. They'd go by the liquor store there in Bonnefee and get them a little bottle, and they'd come up a dirt road, you know, smoking and drinking, you know, and get up to Bob's house. Francis would be standing at the front door. He said, "Come in and speak to your daughter, sister." He said, Rick said, "I ain't going in there." He said, "No way." And
they do that 5 days a week, wouldn't they?
yeah, they would 5 days a week. Come up the road, with air conditioning on, cigarette between the fingers sticking out the window.
Coming down them dirt roads.
Coming down the dirt road, you know.
Then when we used to call Bob Robert Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
Mr. Ed and Ricky'd get him to the house, and Francis wasn't in too good a mood, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's for sure. He one time me and him was in there, like I say, went in there at Powell Lake. He stopped about halfway there, and no, this was a different time. He was in there, and I was too. I was looking for ducks, you know, and I heard somebody shoot, and old Bob says, Barney says, "I killed a slickhead." I said, "Bob, you man, and all these people in here." Cork Harris' son-in-law was in there, you know, with his dogs, and he killed a doe, you know. So we helped him pull him up there in some weeds and hit him right then. And Cork Harris' son-in-law come by and said, "Y'all hearing the dogs?" We hadn't heard any. I said, "Down at the second slough I heard some." They taken off, you know. Bob wouldn't put the deer on his four-wheeler. He put him on mine, you know. So I said, "Bob," I says, "we're gonna get caught if we ain't careful." I says, "I'm going up there." The road went in the basket set. I heard a vehicle coming down the road, and I backed up in there, called myself hid, you know, and I told him, I said, "You going up there at the four-wheeler road where it comes in the Powell Lake Road." I says, "And you let me know if you see anybody coming." I said, "You don't be in the way," and they're like, "Head that way." So I got up there and hit the four-wheeler road, and I went to the house and unloaded a doe, you know, and I told him, I said, "Bob, don't you never do that to me again." You know, now we changed our CB handle. And Hewlin said, "Well, they know your voice, you know." I said, he called me Kemosabe, and I called him Moby Dick. I said, "Moby Dick, is it Claire?" He says, "Yeah." And I taken off, you know.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Yeah, they called him Mr. Ed, and what was yours was 5-0, wasn't it?
Yeah.
5-0.
Yeah. That was my CB handle, 5-0.
Yeah. They called LD Papa Bear.
Yeah. And Rick Deadeye.
Yeah, Rick's CB handle was Deadeye.
Yeah.
And they had mine. They called mine Bigfoot.
Yeah.
They were crazy. Yeah, man, what some times.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah. Yeah. He we was up there one time. No, I lived up there, and Ryan was up there, and Garrett, and Bob had an old car there that was 4-wheel drive. I don't know whether he ever saw it or not. And he got it to hunt on, but he didn't hunt on it, so he wanted to go riding around and go in Powell Lake, you know. And when the river got up, it washed the main road out, and it left sort of a ditch there, you know, and it was sandy. And Garrett says, "Bob, you think that thing will go through there?" "Yeah, it'll go through there." No, Bob was about drunk. So the old car slid off in there, you know, and that thing, he tried to get out of there and it got stuck. I told Ryan and Garrett, I said, "Y'all gonna have to go back out to Rick's and get him come in there with a trailer." And them boys like got eat up with them old deer flies, boy. So Bob got that thing stuck. And I got to tell another one about old Bob.
Yeah.
He called me one night about 10 o'clock, and I was hard and fast asleep. I said, "What do you want?" He said, "Barney, come over here." He says, I got about a 5-pointer killed. I said, "You're lying." He said, "I'll give you $50 if I ain't got one." I said, "Okay." Got over there and it was about a 7-pointer, you know. And he was about drunk, you know. Nancy Francis, she had to get in on it. She got a whole lot of old deer, pulling him in the back of my truck, and her hand slid off. And she hit the back of the truck. I said, "You're gonna break your cotton picking neck." So we went over at the house, and I had to hook the truck to him to pull him up on the horse, you know.
Yeah.
And old Bob, he was tagging around there, stepping on his own feet, you know. I said, "Bob, you gotta help me." "Well, I will, Bob." Barney, and 2 o'clock next morning before I got through with that deer. I said, "Don't you never do that to me again."
Oh, Lord.
So there one evening, I had a stand down there in the woods and kept it baited up, you know, and there was 3 come in there that afternoon. So I got 2 deer at one shot, and then I shot that other and started running. I got him with 3, you know.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and me and Rick, of course, Bob was standing there drinking his beer, smoking. Me and Rick was dressing the deer, you know, and old Baker lived up there then.
Jimmy Baker.
No, this was other Baker.
Richard Baker.
Richard. He was big, you know. He called Annie and told Annie that he was coming down there, you know. Of course, Annie told me, but we didn't tell Bob. I told Rick, I said, and he walked up, I said, "We're going to take off and run," because he wore a big old jacket, so like
Game warden.
And I said, "There he comes, Rick," you know. He said, "Hey," he said, "what are y'all doing?" Me and old Rick taking off running towards the field, you know. No, Bob run out there, he couldn't run, he got under the truck. Old Baker walked around and said, "Come off, under there."
Oh, Lord. You and Bob were pretty tight. You and him and Rick.
Yes, yeah, we sure was, I'm telling you.
I'll tell you one of the things that I remember about Bob the most, and I think I've said it to either on camera or to somebody. You know, he used to work on them small engines.
Right.
And he'd be out there and he'd have a Schlitz beer
Yeah.
and a cigarette, and it would be in the heat of the summer working on a Briggs and Stratton engine of somebody's, you know, either it was a go-kart or a lawnmower or whatever. But I have never seen another person that could sit and work on a tedious, like a carburetor on one of those things, and be just pouring sweat.
Right.
And he'd have that Salem cigarette in his mouth, and the sweat would get down on the cigarette so much it'd put it out. He was sweating so much it'd put the fire out on the cigarette.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yes, sir.
I've never, and to this day, I've never seen anybody who could do that and sit there and tune the carburetor with just sweat pouring off of him. And he'd just reach over there and grab that Schlitz beer and take him a drink, sit back down and keep working on it.
Oh, and he'd get on a lawnmower and say, "For instance, I think I was cutting grass." He'd be out there cutting grass, and she'd holler at him, "Robert, turn that lawnmower off, bring it back into the house. You're not cutting that grass right."
That was Francis saying that?
Yes, sir.
No, she would never say that.
No.
Oh, my goodness.
You ain't cutting that grass right. You know, really.
Man. Well, you guys, I've about said all I can think of. Anything you want to say that you hadn't said?
I think I'm about caught up.
Yeah. Well, is there anything you want to tell any of these future Barneses and Crewses that you might want them to know? Because I mean, folks may be seeing this 100 years down the road.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be dead.
Yeah.
You know, by then.
Yeah. That's
I
for
know.
sure.
I know a lot of the other ones have said that you know they wish them well and want them to know that when you come from the Crews background and the Barnes background, you come from a work ethic that nobody else
Right.
could stick with.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I know something I wanted to ask you about before we get off of it. Did you ever help LD and Gardis with any of their cane and their syrup making?
Oh Lord. Oh Lord, yes, I'm telling you, I guarantee you, boy, that was some hard work.
Do you remember ever having to go strip any cane? And
Strip the cane and cut it down, you know, and then feed it in the old mill, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that came out of this is that LD and y'all, because y'all were helping it, made the best cane syrup that there was ever made.
Yeah, he did, man. I'm telling you, he made some good syrup, you know, put it in them old bright buckets, metal buckets, syrup buckets, you know.
Yeah.
And,
But they made this. They said he was mainly known for about three things, and one of them was the cane syrup. The other was he grew some of the best watermelons ever grown.
you better believe it, buddy. I mean, he grew some and cantaloupes, you know. Woo!
And they said that he was well known for that, and he was also known for wearing overalls when he politicked.
Yeah. I'd go up there sometime, and he'd be in that old hog pen with his britches leg rolled up with mud and stuff all over him, and it don't make any difference how he was dressed, you know. If he needed help, he'd tell you to get over there and help him catch that hog.
Yeah, he didn't care if you had new shoes on or not.
He didn't care about it. Get over there and help me catch that hog. Hold him, you know. And did Tommy tell you about the old Sally he caught in there one time, and he had it about a year or something or other, and she got loose and got him in the seat of the britches.
Had him down.
I think he told Gardis, don't pull on it too hard so you might have something else in his mouth.
He said the hog. He said that hog got it. That sow got loose from him and grabbed him in the crotch and had him down on the ground. And he told Granny, he said, Gardis, get him, pull him by the back leg or something, but don't pull too hard. He might have a hold of something else.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
Yeah, that's. Now, as Tommy said, there's a lot of myths and jokes, but there's a lot of truth, and I think that was a truth.
Yeah. And Tommy said he seen him, dogs would be in there in the woods, you know, hog hunting, and the dogs would be up some old hog, and they'd be on the thick bushes, and he would crawl under there and tell them to turn a different dog loose that really done the catching, you know. He'd crawl down there with them hogs.
Yeah. That was one of the things I think Tommy said that they'd have 2 or 3 dogs, and it depends on how big a hog it was to whether he'd need 1 dog or 3 dogs.
Right.
To catch those hogs.
And I've seen him skin his hand or something, you know, and he'd take the skin like that and jerk it off, you know, to stick it up. And it wouldn't put nothing on it. It was an old piece of bed sheet, you know, just wrap it up, you know, and then when you went to take the bandage off, it'd be stuck.
Stuck to it.
He wasn't, that man wasn't scared of nothing, and as tough as he could be, you know, really.
He told, I think Daddy Hewlin called him he called him the Minute Man.
Yeah, right.
He said, I don't mean do it later, I mean do it right now.
Yeah. If he was working on the farm equipment, he couldn't get it loose, he'd get him a sledgehammer and son, he'd wham it, he'd knock it loose. You know.
Yeah, and Cindy, my wife, she's joked on us. What'd you call us?
I call y'all LD number 1 was Papa Crews. LD number 2 is Hewlin Crews. LD number 3 is Scott, and LD number 4 is our son Heath.
Yeah. We all alike.
Yeah.
If it don't want to budge, then get something bigger to make it budge. We will tear something up.
Yeah.
We don't have patience, I guess you'd say.
Right, yeah. So he didn't, I'm telling you. Ooh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
He was rough on anything.
I remember one time, I'm gonna tell this and then we're gonna get off here, y'all. This is the dang truth. We'd be plowing and we had them Massey Fergusons then. We had like a Massey Ferguson 235, 265, whatever, 285. We had the sizes. And I was down there plowing and I might have been 8 years old, and I was bottom plowing, breaking the land with bottom plow. And I'm down in there, and you know when you do that, the tractor, the one big wheel and the front wheel is down in that trough.
Right.
And you're over here on the side like that going. Well, I'm going along there, plowing good, doing good, and the dang big rear tire fell off. just fell off of the tractor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, all I can think about is I'm fitting to get whooped. You know, so I shut it down, and the whole time I was always that way. If anything went wrong, it was like you're gonna get a whipping.
Right.
Even though I didn't get whippings that much.
Right.
But it just was always back in my head.
Yeah.
Anyway, that tire fell off. I called, went back to Granny and Granddaddy's and got a hold of Daddy and told him that the tire had fell off. Well, Granddaddy was at the house, LD.
Yeah.
We loaded up in his little he always had a step-side Chevy pickup.
Right.
And we got in that truck and headed back down there. And I thought he was going to whoop me. And we looked at it, and I kid you not what he said to me. He said, son, you need to check these tires, the lug nuts on them every time you get ready to get on this tractor. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, how many damn times have you ever checked the lug nuts before you got on that tractor and went anywhere?
Right.
But he's like, the LD tells me you need to check the lug nuts on these every time you get on this tractor. And I was like, hey, you ain't never checked them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's for sure, you know, really.
But that big old...
He used to talk about how his dad made them go get their own switch.
Oh yeah,
Switch
go get your own switch.
Yeah, my dad, you know, there was peach trees around there, you know, and the bottom of the tree would sprout out, you know, and have
Those suckers.
small little limb sticking up, you know, probably about smaller than your finger, you know, and probably about 4 feet long, you know. And he cut them things off, you know. We see him cut them off, you know, to bring them to the house and set them up in the corner, and they'd get seasoned, you know.
Let them dry up.
But there one day, when my brother Jesse done something, I don't know what it was, might have been a fighting. He said, do you want me to whip you, or y'all want to whip yourselves? We'll whip ourselves, Dad. Jesse had that little switch, you know. He hit me, and that boy had me out like I was crying. I'd hit him, you know, and he go, you hurt me, William. No, we didn't want him to get a hold of us, so he really put it on you.
Yeah.
And he believed, back in them days, people believed in castor oil, you know.
Cure anything.
Yeah, there, we were feeling bad there one Sunday morning, you know. I bet it was Sunday. That castor oil come in a little bright bottle, thin bottle like that, you know. He set it down by the fireplace, get it warm, you know. He didn't have nothing to
Chase it with.
Yeah. He gave it to us. The sun had made us sick. We were sprawled out there on the bed. I'm telling you, the castor oil. Woo. Yeah, he didn't have nothing to chase it with, you know.
No.
He believed in that.
It was probably a Sunday and y'all didn't want to go to church.
Yeah.
He
Right,
said,
that was what you used to
fix
tell us
that.
would get the meanness out of you.
Yeah. Castor oil get, yeah.
Get
Yeah,
the
you better
meanness out
believe
of
it,
you.
boy, I'm telling you. Oh, we were sick. We were sick then on castor oil. You know.
Did you ever chew any tobacco back and get sick off any of that?
No, I don't think so. We had some kind of weed that growed out on the farm there. They call it rabbit tobacco. It
Yeah.
had little leaves on it, you know. And we get us a piece of old brown paper bag, you know, and fix us a little cigarette out of it, you know, roll a little bit, and try to let that stuff burn you. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure did.
Man.
Yeah, it did.
Well, I know we've about eat into lunchtime, and I think we're gonna be frying some fish here in a little bit or something.
Yes, sir.
So,
Specks, no bones in them.
okay.
No bones.
He's our fisherman.
We're gonna get
Now,
get out there and get that going, and we want to thank you for your time, and I hope that some folks down the road enjoy watching this and hearing from William Barney Barnes here at 97 years old, y'all. I mean,
Eat your heart out, Tommy Cruise.
yeah. Now you said the longevity to life was having you a good old sweet onion, didn't you?
Onion and mustard.
Onion and mustard.
Yeah.
So if y'all out there, y'all need to eat you some onion and mustard every day
365 days a year.
and get your done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all, we appreciate y'all being with us today.